Is Daniel Dubois the Tin Man? Does he lack a heart? That is the question. Is he the heavyweight Victor Ortiz? I don't know. That's yet to be seen. But before we get into this video, I'd like to thank all my newly found subs. I really do appreciate it. I've been trying to comment back to all of y'all, but it's a lot of y'all. Like, I've had 1,000+ comments and I'm still going through. I probably hit about 300 people, and I'll continue to get to y'all because I really do appreciate y'all subs. Before we get into the video, if you like it, give it a thumbs up. And if you really like it, please subscribe to the channel because that does help me out the most. And when you sub, hit the notification bell so you can get updated when I drop the newest content like this. If you're new to my channel, this is my early morning boxing talk while I drive to my work. And I might pause a little as people on the road do not know how to drive. So with that being said, let's get into this video. So I've been on a few channels, right? And they were trying to compare Daniel Dubois to, say, Vitaly Klitschko, who gave up early in his career when he was fighting for a championship against Chris Byrd. Now, my only thing with this example is there are a huge difference in between the two. In this fight with Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois was physically getting hurt. He had a swollen eye. He was getting beat up. I had it a very close fight. I'll say that. I thought the fight was 4 rounds for Dubois, 5 rounds for Joe Joyce going into the 10th round. So it was still anybody's fight. Joyce wasn't so far ahead that he had it in the bag, and Daniel wasn't so far down that there was no chance that he could come back. It was a very close fight, very competitive fight. But the thing with the Vitaly fight was Vitaly was dominating that fight, and I believe it was in the 9th round that he chose not to continue because he threw a punch and his shoulder came out of his, or he tore his rotator cuff, I believe it was actually. And because of that shoulder injury, he quit on his stool. Now, why I say it's a whole different situation is, one with Vitaly is he was winning the fight easily. I mean, if you were going to give Byrd a round, maybe you gave him a round, but he was dominating him for the entirety of the fight, and he was not getting beat up. Physically, he was not hurt outside of the shoulder injury that he sustained during the fight. And I guess because of the pain of it, he could not continue. Now, with Daniel, he was in a hard fight, and he was getting that eye hit. And the thing is, this wasn't a fight that he was so far ahead of that, you know, you could say, okay, he was seriously injured. He's not a quitter. When Vitaly quit, it's kind of hard to say that he's a quitter. When he quit a fight, he was winning, clearly winning. And then he goes on to fight Lewis. And, you know, he had all them stitches that I think it was like 240 stitches needed to his eye, but he never gave up. I believe they caught in the 7th round a TKO victory for Lennox Lewis, even though Vitaly kept fighting through it and, in my opinion, was winning the fight, up to the point of them stopping it and giving the win to Lennox Lewis on a TKO due to cut. With that being said, as I thought more and more about it, you know, Vitaly did quit. Daniel did quit. Now, Vitaly didn't get beat up like Daniel did, but Daniel is young, and maybe he will come back. Maybe he can go through adversity. It's just my big thing that makes this a really bad look is this. Daniel has had very good matchups for him. Guys that were set up that he would look good. Guys that wouldn't be so punch resistant. Guys that wouldn't be such a hard fight for him. Now, the first signs I had of concern with Daniel Dubois was whenever I saw Lardy catch him and it buckled his knees. But he kept fighting. He was dominating most of that fight, and he kept going through. He didn't give up when his knees buckled, but it was only one good shot that buckled his knees. But again, we're talking about Lardy. There ain't no party if there's no Lardy, that guy. You know what I mean? So that was my first concern about how good he really is and how much of a chin he really has because of Lardy buckling his knees. But this is the heavyweight division, and anybody can get knocked out by anybody if the right punch lands. But because I saw that, I thought Joe Joyce was going to win because I have not seen Joe Joyce hurt since he's been a heavyweight. The man's got a chin made out of steel. Fuck granite. The shit's made out of steel. And I just figured he would keep coming forward. He would absorb what Daniel had. And when he threw back, he would just do too much damage to Daniel. He would outland him. Hold on one second, guys. There's a wreck in front of me that I got to go around. Yeah, I have to go this way. again, with that being said, I'm sorry, I got a little sidetracked. There's a really bad wreck right here in front of me, and I'm going around it, as y'all can hear my blinker. But again, with that being said, I just thought because of Joe Joyce's chin and his tenacity and him always coming forward against fighters that he would be able to weather Daniel's storm. And Daniel only being 23 years old, young, he just wouldn't be able to take a grown man coming at him like that. And I was correct. I never thought that Daniel would take a knee and quit fighting. Now, coming back to the point of does he have heart? I don't know. The reason why I say I don't know when it's a bad look is, again, all his fights were pretty much tailor-made for him. And this is the first time he was in there with a live dog. This is the first time that he was in there in a tough fight. And in his first tough fight, he quit. He gave up. I understand that the orbital live bone was broke. And I know people try to make parallels with Kell Brook, but I don't really see that parallel being able to be made, because when Kell Brook had his orbital bone broke the first time against Triple G, he didn't quit. It was his towel, I believe it was Engel, his coach, threw in the towel and stopped the fight for Kell Brook because he kept fighting with the broken orbital bone. Now, as far as Daniel goes, I know I've heard reports that his orbital bone is broken. I'm not going to question it. It probably is. It was really swollen. And to be honest, when I watched the fight, it was in the first round, the opening round, that Joe Joyce hit him with a hard jab that snapped his head back and kind of made his knees buckle in the very first round. And I believe it was like the very first punch Joe Joyce landed. I honestly think that's when the damage was done to his eye. So he fought through 9 rounds, in my opinion, of an injured eye. And then with only 3 rounds left to go, because he was in the 10th, you got to count that as 1 round. Then he had the 11th and 12th left. He took that knee and gave up. Again, I will restate what I said in my highlight video. I honestly, when I saw it live, the jab that Joyce landed on him, I really thought it put Vaseline in his eyes. I did not think he was giving up. I thought the Vaseline got in his eyes. It blinded him and was burning him, and that's why he paused at his eyes, because I thought he was pausing to try to get out the Vaseline, and then he took a knee. And he looked up to the referee. Then how the referee was talking to him, in my mind, and you got to understand that I used to fight, so quitting is not in my mindset, and it's never been in my mindset. But in my mind, I thought Daniel was trying to tell the ref that he had Vaseline in his eye. I thought the ref was going to walk him over to the corner and let him wipe it out and the fight continue, right? But that's not what happened. Daniel said he didn't want any more. The Vaseline wasn't the issue. And it was just the fact that his eye hurt and he didn't want to sustain any more damage. Now, here's the thing. There's an argument that I've seen in my comment section that a lot of people are saying that it was smart that he quit because it could have saved his career. And that might be true. That very well could be true, that the smart thing to do was to quit. But here's the thing. Let's go to a heavyweight that gets a lot of flack. A lot of people talk a lot of stuff about him. A lot of people say he's not skilled. A lot of people, and that's Deontay Wilder. When Deontay Wilder got that dent in his head from an egg weight, when he got the dent in his head from his egg weight and he died to get the autopsy report after the fight, did he give up at any point in time in that fight against Tyson Fury? No, he didn't. No matter how beat up he was, no matter how big the dent was in the side of his head, and by the way, that was a joke about the egg weight. I don't believe Glovegate. But we're going to make a joke again. No matter how many times he got clubbed in the head by the egg weight, he kept pushing forward. He kept trying to fight. He was mad when the towel came in, because that is the heart of a champion. And that goes for any sport. Anyone who is on the track to be a top-level competitor does not want to quit, does not want to lose. Losing is the last thing on their mind and the last thing that they will accept. So when fighters say, I would rather die in the ring, it sounds stupid, but most fighters mean it, that they would actually rather die than to give up or quit. And that's what makes it so bad for Daniel, that he did quit. See, there's nothing smart about fighting. So the smart argument goes out the window, in my opinion, because it's not smart to stand in front of another grown man and get punched in the head. It's not. In fact, it can lower your IQ and make you not as smart if you take too many blows. You could end up like Muhammad Ali with Parkinson's disease. You could end up like Patrick Day and pass away in the ring. It's not smart to fight. But people who fight, especially that make it to a world level, which Daniel was on his way to do, they love it. There's something about it. They're born warriors. And that's the thing about it that I try to tell people. You cannot teach heart. And you'll never know where somebody's heart is until their back's against the wall, until they're pushed into a corner and they only have one choice: fight back or give up. Or in this case, roll over and play dead. That's it. There's no other way around it. Anybody can look good when they're dominating people. When people are dominating other people, it doesn't really tell you where their heart is, and it doesn't really tell you how much they're willing to fight. Think about Muhammad Ali, an all-time great. He had a broken jaw in the last round against Ken Norton and still went to decision. Broke his jaw. Whenever he fought Joe Frazier, all 3 times, him and Joe Frazier ended up in the hospital after the fight, in the same hospital, after each of the 3 fights. You've got to think about all-time greats. It's in the moments of when you're hurt, when it appears that you're losing, that you dig deep, and that's when the champion is found, when you can overcome and persevere, and Daniel didn't do that. Now, again, he's 23 years old. He's young. Can he come back from it? Yeah, coming back to the Vitali. Maybe that's why Vitali didn't give up over the gash over his eye, because he got so much flack over quitting against Chris Bird in the quarter when he tore his rotator cuff. Maybe that's why he kept fighting through the stitches. Maybe that's why he didn't want to give up in that fight and was mad whenever the referee threw in the towel. So maybe this can inspire Daniel to never do it again. Maybe he's going to get enough flack that if he truly stays in boxing, he will rise to the occasion even when he's getting beat up. Because here's the thing about it. I don't believe he was getting beat up in this fight. Yes, his eye was beat up. Yes, he was getting hit by the jab. And I'll say this. Joe Joyce probably has the strongest jab in the heavyweight division. I don't care how slow it is. He's probably got the single punch hardest jab. If we're going for just one hard landed jab, single punch after single punch, I would say Joe Joyce by far has, in my opinion, because the way he snaps people's heads back with the jab, he's got that Vladimir Klitschko jab. I think he's got the hardest jab for thudding shots in the heavyweight division. Now, I won't say it's the quickest or the most precise or the prettiest, but it's definitely the hardest hitting in my opinion. So it does take a lot to eat a bunch of jabs like Daniel was by Joe Joyce. But the thing is, I keep coming back to, he wasn't getting beat up. He wasn't getting whap to the kidneys, whap to the liver, whap to the solar plex, whap with an uppercut to the chin, whap behind the guard to the temple. That's my main concern with him. And I expressed this on another channel, on Julius's channel. What happens when he gets in there against a guy who's not going to be hitting him with a jab, 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 a jab, 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 but it's going to be hitting him with jab, straights, uppercuts, hooks to the body, hooks behind the guard to the temple? What's going to happen when he starts feeling blows all over his body and he's aching from the waist to the forehead? And that's why I have a lot of concerns about him, because if he couldn't take just getting jabbed, if he couldn't take the damage from a singular punch, and I understand his eye was messed up. I'm not trying to downplay his eye injury, but if he could not take that, what's going to happen when he gets beat up all over the body? What's going to happen if he gets a broken rib? What's going to happen if he gets anything hurt on him? Is he going to fold? And again, I have to say what I said earlier, and I know I kind of get a little repetitive, especially while I'm driving, but the thing about it is, I have to say this at the end. You do not know a man's character until he's pushed against the wall, until he's backed into that corner. And what we saw from Daniel Dubois at this moment is, when everything is turned against him, when he's not having his way, he's willing to give up and quit. And that is a bad look. And that right now is the main reason why I don't think he's going to go far in boxing. I do think he will come back. I do think Frank Warren will put him in there with some lower level opposition again and try to rebuild him up, try to get his confidence back. But when he steps up, and I will say this too, I thought the Joe Joyce fight was too much of a step up as well. That's another reason why I picked Joe Joyce. You got a guy with a deep amateur pedigree and has fought much harder competition. Even though he's had less fights at the professionals, he had 11 fights going into that fight. To Daniels, I believe it was 15 fights going into that fight. And Joe Joyce had a much harder opposition. So he had more experience in the amateurs and in the pros. So Daniel was way far behind, and there should have been a middle step. He should have came up, even though Joe Joyce is truly a prospect, in my opinion, still a prospect because he doesn't have a lot of professional fights. Daniel should have been put in there with a live body journeyman, somebody that could give him rounds, give him a tough fight, who was going to hit him back so he could get used to that. But he wasn't. He was used to dominating people. And when he couldn't dominate, and when his power failed him, and then he started feeling somebody else's power, he didn't know what to do. And that's, I don't want to say that's so much on him as it is on Frank Warren, on Queensberry, on his promotional company, because they set him up for failure by not slowly stepping him up in competition. You can't just jump into the deep end and swim. That's not how boxing works. Look at Nate Robinson. He just learned that. He came from the NBA, tried to fight a guy like Jake Paul, who's only had 3 boxing matches. 1 amateur against KSI's brother, some dude named Gibbs from the UK, and now he fought Nate. So he had 3 fights, but that was his 3rd fight going in. No, I'm missing one, aren't I? He fought KSI's brother. No, I'm right. Yeah, KSI's brother. He fought Gibbs, knocked him out. I think he knocked out KSI's brother. And then he just knocked out Nate Robinson. The thing with Nate Robinson was he had 0 fights. He was training with a hole-in-the-wall gym, which was dumb to begin with. You're a 10-year NBA veteran, an ex-NBA player. I know you've got enough money. I know you were getting paid for this fight, so you could have got you a real boxing coach, not some hole-in-the-wall, where you had Jake, who was around Shannon Briggs, world champion, who was around Ryan Garcia, who's got a lesser WBC belt, and who knows how many other professional fighters he was around, training around. There's levels to boxing, and you can't go from A to Z. You just can't do it. You can't be the alpha and omega when you first come in. You got to go up slowly. You have to, or you're going to get found wanting like Daniel did, and I blame that on Frank Warren. That is not Daniel's fault that he was pushed so fast and pushed into a fight he had no business being in the first place. But again, I will say this. I give the kid credit. He's got a lot of power. Had he been hitting other guys that were not Joe Joyce with them punches, he may have knocked them out. He very well may have. But like Deontay Wilder, you cannot rely on power in professional boxing. Power will only take you so far alone. You have got to have other skill sets. You've got to be able to get your head out of the way of a jab. You've got to be able to slip, bob and weave, lateral movement. You can't just keep coming forward and running into a jab. You can't do it, because eventually you're not going to be able to run somebody over. Eventually you're going to hit them with the kitchen sink and they're going to absorb it. And if all you got is power and nothing else behind it, you're not going to win the fight. You're just not. And that's the thing with Daniel, because he was pushed so fast and his competition was so weak before, he didn't get enough skill sets to be able to deal with somebody like Joe Joyce, who could put that jab in his left eye all night long and break his orbital bone. So to conclude this, because I know it's a long video, and I want to make it a little bit longer because of all the subs, I look at it like this. Can Daniel Dubois come back? Of course he can come back. And of course, he's proven that he can beat lower opposition. But will he make it to a world level? I don't know. Can he be a good domestic British fighter? Probably. But the world stage is a whole different question. Will he be on that Anthony Joshua level? Will he be on that Tyson Fury level? I don't know, because I have a lot of questions around his heart. And again, I will end where I began. You can't teach art. You just can't. You cannot make somebody have a heart. So Daniel's either going to learn from this, or this right here is the fight that broke him. I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Am I being too hard on him, thinking that he might not be able to come back from this on at least a world level, just let me know what y'all think. Because I really don't think the youth is an excuse. The youth will give you an experience. The youth can get you beat up like Canelo against Mayweather. But Canelo didn't quit against Mayweather. He couldn't even hit Mayweather. That's what youth will get you. Youth can get you in trouble against an experienced older fighter who can outbox you, outclass you. But youth does not cause you to give up. Because if you're going to give up when you're 23, what are you going to do when you're 33 and you're feeling Father Time knocking on your door? So let me know what y'all think. Oh yeah, thank y'all for watching.